right, good evening and welcome to Daf It and Chagigah, Daf Yomi. We have an exciting shir today. Of course, I hope you like my yarmulke. I went to the Judaica store here and, they were out of yarmulkes. They were out of those velvet yarmulkes. They only had to keep us ruga in this. So, keep us ruga? No way. Not me. I'm not a keep us ruga guy. Nothing wrong with keep us ruga. You can wear a keep us ruga, but listen, me, I prefer the baker's hat, the chef's hat. I think it looks better. If you see me walking the streets, it's just because the store ran out of keepers. That's what happened. All right, let's get started. It's late here, 11:15 at night here. All right, pick it up in the middle of Chavdal and Aleph. Tanya, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Akar Ravi, Bakodesh Pasal. Ravi, Bakodesh is Pasal. Meaning by Kodesh, you could reach a level of Ravi. By Truma, the highest level you could reach is Shlishi. By Kodesh, you can reach a Ravi, but once it becomes a Ravi, it's possible, meaning it's Tameh, but it can't transmit Tumah to something else. Tanya, Kodesh can't transmit Tumah past a Ravi. Tanya, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Minayin Ravi Bakodesh Hu Pasal. I didn't know Ravi Bakodesh, it's Pasal. Medinu, and it doesn't transmit Tumah. It becomes Tameh, but doesn't transmit Tumah. Adinu. Ma Mechusar Kippurim Shmoter B'Truma Pasal Bakodesh. Mechusar Kippurim, right? Let's say you're a tummy maze, you're a Matzora or a Zab, and you have to count a Zab Gedola, you have to wait, you have to count 7 days, then you have to go to the mikvah, then you have to do Harav Shemesh, then you can eat Truma after you Harav Shemesh. After you waited until sunset, you could eat Truma, but you have to bring a korban before you could eat Kodesh. Mechusar Kippurim, Shemuter B'Truma, he's allowed to eat Truma once he does Harav Shemesh the night before. Pasal B'Kodesh, until he brings the korban, he can't eat Kodesh. Shlishi, Shapasal B'Truma, Shlishi, we know that a Truma can reach the level of a Shlishi, and it becomes puzzle. It can't transmit Tumah anymore. It's telling me it can't transmit Tumah to a Ravi. Eno din she asked a Ravi Lakodesh. Certainly, you should make a Ravi Lakodesh. Until we see that there should be a Ravi Lakodesh. If Mechuzar Kippurim, which is an Indian of Karbanos, it's an Indian of Kodesh Karbanos. It has a stringency that it's mutter. It has an allowance of truma. It has a truma, and it's still possible. You have to wait till the korban. So therefore, we know there's a level of shlishi by truma. Certainly by kodesh, there can be a level of revi. Revi b'kal v'chomer. Flaman shlishi v'kodesh min Torah. Revi b'kal v'chomer. We learned that there's a level of shlishi v'kodesh from the Torah, and revi we learned from the previous kal v'chomer. Shlishi v'kodesh min Torah minai. Where do you know that from? The chsiv. The meat which touches something which is tamei lo yachal, it can't be eaten. It's talking about kodesh meat. Milo askin and the naga b'sheni. It says hashriga b'chol tamei, anything which is tamei. So therefore, it could even be a sheni. A sheni is common. It's common to have a sheni. Ochel could be a sheni. So it touches a sheni. It says you can't eat it. Not only you can't eat it, not only does it become tamei, it says lo yachal, it can't eat it, to show you that it could even transmit tumah. So therefore, you see it become a ravi, not just a shlishi by touching it, but it can also transmit tumah to a ravi. So ravi b'kal v'chomer kada amran. The fact that it can become a ravi, that we know from the kal v'chomer, like we said before. If you're a little confused by that, it is a little confusing. There's more depth to it. Check out an art scroll. You're probably not going to understand it after you read the art scroll, but I pretty much gave you a simple explanation of it. All right, but Truma nitmes. We said if you have two hands, right? One hand is tahor and one hand is tamei. If one of your hands becomes tamei regarding truma, you don't have to worry. You can eat with your other hand. By kodesh, if you want to eat kodesh, you have to be tovel both hands. I'm a Rav Shizbi b'chiburin shan. We're only talking about when your hands were touching each other when they became tamei. Aval shelo b'chiburin, when one of them became tamei. Aval shelo b'chiburin lo. If they didn't touch each other, even by kodesh, you don't have to worry. You can eat with the other hand. Eisive abaye yad neguva metame chaverta l'tamei lakodesh. Avol l'truma divrei Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. Divrei Rebbe. Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Omer lifsol avol l'tamei. Let's say you have a dry hand. Your hand is dry, so it's metame chaverta. Now your hand is dry. Normally, a hand that's dry is not metame your friend, but by kodesh it would be, according to Rebbe. Meaning it would make the other hand not only that it's tummy the other hand, but also it can transmit tumah the other hand to something that it touches. According to Rebbe Yehuda says it lifts up a little tummy. It makes the other hand puzzle, but not tummy. If you'll tell me that there's tumah transmitted from one hand to another, even if they weren't originally together when they touched one hand touched the tumah, hainari buse the naguva. That's the chiddush of why one hand is dry, because only if it's dry makes a difference if it's dry or it's wet. In shalom b'chiburin low, if you'll tell me, like the Gemara wanted to suggest before, if Shizbi wanted to suggest, it only applies if they're touching together. My rebusin in a guva. What's the chiddush of being dried? Meaning, the whole chiddush is a chiddush of naguva. This brisa goes out its way to say naguva. Now, if it's naguva, so that means the most it could be is a sheni, because hands can be a shtam yadayim or a shniyim. But if it's wet, so we know that wet hands, you have moisture on your hand, so the hand is a sheni, but it makes a liquid. This is a unique halacha by Tuma, that a sheni that touches a liquid makes the liquid into a rishon Tuma. So the whole chiddush is by naguva to tell you that if it's really wet, then of course it's matama the other ones. So the whole chiddush has to be the fact that it goes away saying naguva to show you that even though there's no possibility of touching liquid and making it tummy a natural means, still it's matame. So therefore, he shows you the whole chiddush is of chiburin, of shalom b'chiburin, when it's not mechuber. That's the chiddush. That seems to be the skana of the Gemara, that even if it's not b'chiburin, it would still be a problem for kodesh. Itmar nami amar shlakish l'shana al yodo. Shlakish is a similar thing. Only your hand. Aval yad chaver lo. When the schomer by kodesh, and if one of your hands is tummy, it's matame. Another hand by kodesh, your other hand, it's not. If you touch before being told by your hand, you touch someone else's hand while your hand is dry, you're not going to be matame. Rabbi Yochanan amar echad yadav echad yad chaver. Rabbi Yochanan is machmer. You don't touch someone else's hand. Also hayad lifsol aval lo latame. But all you can do with that hand is be possible someone else's hand. You can't make his hand available to matame something else. Imai. How do you know this? The end of our Mishnah says another difference. The yad is matame its friend for kodesh not l'truma. It seems like redundant. We already basically said this. Hasu lamali. Hatana le reisha. It's the same thing as the reisha. Allah shmamina. Adasuya yad chavero. Must be is coming to include that even if your hand by kodesh you touch someone else's hand, it also makes it tamei. Amar shlagish hadar be'yun. Shlagish was choser bo to admit to Rabbi Yochanan was right. Amar Rabbi Yonah, Amar Rabbi Ami, Amar Shlagish echad yadav echad yad chaver, but also yad lifso avlo tamei. You can tamei someone else's hand, but only to make it possible, not to make it tamei. V'lifs avlo tamei. V'lifso avlo tamei tanai. That actual fact of postling it, not making tamei, is actually not chos hanayim. This non. Call a post of a truma matame yadayim lios shnios. Anything which makes something a truma, post of a truma, which makes it a shlishi. It can make your hands lios shnios, make your hands shnios. Most of your hands become a shnios. Yad matame chaverta, and your hand can matame its other hand. Dear Rabbi Yeshua, chamor yadim yadayim shnios and sheni ose sheni. Yeshua argues on the chum. The chum argues Rabbi Yeshua, and they say yadayim can't make your other hand tamei. My life sheni hu lo avid hashlishi avid must be. You can't make it a sheni. Why do they go away? Ain shoni ose sheni. So why do they say that? What do these words mean? Ain shoni ose sheni. It must mean it doesn't make it a sheni, but it makes it a shlishi. So the Gemara says, no, dima lo sheni avid lo shlishi. Maybe it doesn't make it tamei at all. Ela kihani tanai. It's like these tanaim. The sign yad neguva, a dry hand, matame es chaver tel tamei bakodesh. Aval truma. It actually makes the other hand tamei. If you touch the tamei hand touches another hand, even though they're dry, it makes the other hand not only postel but also can make something else kodesh or revi. Avalo truma, but not to postel by truma. Divrei Rabbi Yosef Yehuda also yad lifts all avalo tamei. So we see there is even an opinion, the chum over here, the Rebbe's opinion over here, that your hand could transmit tumah to your other hand to make not only to apostle it, but also by kodesh to make something that you touch tamei that can convey tumah to something else, which is a big chiddush. Ochlim neguvim biyadim biyadayim misuavos. With your hands that are dirty, meaning they're they're not clean, your hands, so you can eat truma, but you can't eat kodesh. Tanya, Amar Bichnia ben Antignes, we can eat neguva the kodesh. Now, the problem with dirty hands is that only if something's huchshar l'kabel tuma, meaning something that comes detached from the ground, has to touch moisture to become tummy. So therefore, by kodesh, we're worried that it became. By truma, we're not worried. So the says that chiyesh neguva l'kodesh, although he was a kodesh machsharasan, even though normally by truma or other tumos, it has to actually touch something. The fact chibas kodesh is so dear and near to our hearts. It's so important. It's so chashuv. Therefore, you don't need normally water to touch kodesh in order to machshir it l'kabel tuma. So what does it help that your hands are dry? The chedesh is needed. Why does it the Mishnah say neguvim? Why does the Mishnah say neguvim? It should be chibas hakodesh machsharas. We're talking about the Mishnah, talking about a case where someone stuck kodesh into your mouth without touching it. Or he took a spit or some stick and he stuck a marshmallow into his mouth. And while he was doing this, he wanted to eat a chulin radish or a chulin onion. The kodesh gazru rabbanon, the truma gazru rabbanon. Now, obviously, there's no reason to be machmir for kodesh here because no chivas kodesh because you didn't touch it with your hands. You just stuck it in with a spit. So therefore, there's no reason to be machmir. But they were machmir because they're concerned that while you stick in the chulin food into your mouth and you have the kodesh food already in your mouth, so therefore your hands are going to touch the kodesh. There it goes there, you touch the kodesh, even though it's not for sure you touch the kodesh. By kodesh, were machmir, and truma, they weren't machmir. Onin and chusar kippurim, we said onin and chusar kippurim, they're only, you have to do tefillah before you eat kodesh, but not for truma, my time. Because only an onin and a chusar kippurim, they're not allowed to eat kodesh. Chusar kippurim, someone who did tefillah and heard of shemesh, and he had sunset, he could eat truma. So he's careful at Ain't He only eats truma tomorrow. He watched himself. But Mechusar Kippurim, he has to bring a korban first. So therefore, since he took his money at Hezek Adas before bringing the korban, so therefore he might not have guarded himself properly. Maybe he came tameh for touching kodesh. Therefore, they needed a tefillah to make sure, even after he brings the korban, he still has another tefillah in order before he eats the kodesh. And the same thing when an onin also has to bring an onin also. He's waiting. An onin who's a kohen, he also needs a tefillah hair of shemesh before he could, and mechuzar kippur needs a korban before he can touch kodesh. Therefore, they need a tefillah to safeguard him. That's the end of this installment of Daf Yomi. We have Daf Chafei tomorrow. Join me for a special shiur tomorrow. It's gonna be amazing and touch on some political hot button issues in a fun way and have something delicious to eat in a fun way. You could look at it and desire what we're eating, and maybe somehow metaphysically you could partake of it, but only if you're in a select group of people. All right, have a good night. Bye.